Hello and welcome to Hardline Rugby, the channel focusing on rugby union in the Americas. My name is Stuart, and we've just had the first weekend of Major League Rugby 2020. So let's look over the games that have happened this weekend, as well as make predictions for the winners of this coming weekend. Now, there's one thing I haven't mentioned which has affected some of the teams, and it's visa issues. Remember, some of these key signing players are coming from Europe, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, Uruguay, and they need to ensure that they have the correct visa in order to play in Major League Rugby. As such, a lot of players are still having them processed through, the biggest casualty at the moment being the Beast himself. Hopefully these issues can be resolved as soon as possible and we can have the teams at the full strength that they were intended to. Until then, the coaches will just have to make do with the players they currently have. Now that's all been said and done, let's turn our attention to the first game of the weekend, and indeed, of the season. The season opener provided a great win for the Houston SaberCats over the Colorado Raptors. Sam Windsor got the first points of 2020 with a penalty kick and then the first try moments later. While for Colorado this means that the rebrand hasn't given them the momentum swing that they were hoping for, it has ensured that Houston continued their momentum from the winning games at the end of last season. NOLA's dominance exposed DC's weakness, both in defence as a whole as well as in the scrum, as they conceded 7 tries, the most of any this weekend. That being said, NOLA also conceded the most yellow cards, with 3. This shows a case of indiscipline that other teams in the league may be able to capitalise on. Credit where credit's due, DC did pull off 2 brilliant tries using a kick across the width of the field, known as a cross-field kick, and were able to score tries with no NOLA defence available. If they can utilise this for future games, they could be a considerable threat. Although Utah are one of the most experienced teams in the league, Atlanta were able to pull off a fantastic comeback victory. While Utah were leading at the half, they then conceded a yellow card and a player in the sin bin for 10 minutes, and during that time Atlanta scored 2 tries. And that's simply not acceptable. However, Atlanta did have some kicking inaccuracies, unable to get many of the conversions of their tries, which is something that they will need to focus on, not only for next week, but for the rest of the season. Before we get into this match, I have to say this game should have happened either in New York or in Boston, not in Las Vegas. The New England-New York rivalry needs that home presence. I understand that because of this time of the year, this game could not have been held in either New York or New England, but then just have it later in the league. This was a wrong decision by the league, and hopefully they'll correct it for next season. Rant over. An energized New England team took control of New York from the very start. Now, New England were able to utilize the windy conditions in Las Vegas, as can be definitely seen from their second try. However, when the team switched sides for the second half, New York were unable to make the same progress. Now, this could be due to the windy conditions changing, but ultimately it shows that New York's inability to adapt can cost them games. Now, I understand that New York have been beset by injury problems, but that only means that the new boys they get in will just have to work even harder. The rematch of last year's final in the location of last year's final was the premium event of the weekend. And while Seattle did look as though they were going to win it again, San Diego avenged their loss. Seattle have one of the best defenses in Major League Rugby, but the Legion were able to attack it and the seawall fell. Now, big name signing Ma Nonu did okay in the first half, didn't really make his presence known. But in the second half, he threw 2 key passes and ensured the Legion went away with tries each time. And as the weekend began in Texas, it also ends in Texas, but not for victory for the home team. The Arrow scrum was entirely dominant during this game. And the few instances where Austin did get the advantage, they were just unable to capitalize, only scoring 1 try and 1 penalty goal for the entire game. Now, both teams had major issues with the lineout, but that could just be due to the stormy conditions on the day, and both teams will be hoping that going forward. But if it can't be fixed, then other teams know where to take advantage. So that was the first weekend of Major League Rugby, and the second one is going down in Vegas. So, Who do you have your money on? So first up, we have Utah versus New England, and the new boys have definitely shown that they're ones to not be messed around with. So I'm going to say my money is on the Free Jacks. Both New York and Austin lost their first games this weekend, but Austin just seemed to be in the same rut as last year, where it was just loss after loss, and I don't see it improving anytime soon. Plus, New York have the advantage of having already played at Sam Boyd Stadium. So my money is going to be on New York. Toronto versus Houston. Both teams' kickers are named Sam, and both had a victory in the first weekend. But that Toronto scrum is simply monstrous, and they're my pick for this round. DC versus Seattle. Now, DC will need time to work on their defense as well as their scrum, and unfortunately, they're facing the reigning champions. I'm making my pick, and it's Seattle. NOLA versus Atlanta. Now, this is the only game this weekend which I'm not 100% sure on who I think is going to win. I can see NOLA running away with it, but also conceding yellow cards. I can also see Atlanta pulling off another amazing comeback. But I'm going to have to go with experience on this one. So my pick is NOLA. And finally, we finish off the weekend with San Diego versus Colorado. Now, Colorado didn't get the win that they needed to ensure the new momentum with their rebrand, and I don't think it's coming this time around as well. My pick is going to be San Diego. And these are my picks for round 2 of Major League Rugby 2020. Do you agree or disagree? Do you have your own picks? Well, put them in the comments down below. I'll make sure to check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification so that you can stay notified of all the videos on Hardline Rugby. My name is Stuart, and thank you for watching.